Hello, everybody. This is Tony George.
And as we said, for this wonderful live stream as a chance to connect with each and every one of you. I'm so glad you're here today. And as you join, feel free to, say hi. Feel free to let us know where you're tuning in from. I'd love to know where you're calling in from, where you're dialing in from. So really quick at the top here, if you've been following me on social media, you've been watching my videos, you know that we have an awesome opportunity coming up. We have a 1 month, 4 week series, Change Your Feelings, Change Your Life series. I know some of you have really been kind of connecting with this. Maybe some of you have had questions, want to go deeper. But now you have an opportunity to do that. So we're offering all of you this chance to be a part of a 4 week, 1 month class, 1 hour a week, Zoom, telephone. So no matter where you live, you can dial in. All the materials, all the support, right? And those of you who are watching this, tuning into this, obviously we're going to give you a discounted opportunity to be a part of that. So message below, MORE, or send me a private message. And of course, we'll get out the specific deliverables to you and we'll connect, right? Because we want you to be a part. Easy, doable, time doable, low price point. This is just an opportunity to kind of dive in a little bit more to this life-changing ideas that we're going to talk about, that we have been talking about on some of these videos and everything. So before we get started, I've been doing coaching work with people all over the globe, all walks of life for the last 28 years, and I always say endings and beginnings are important, right? How you do things is more important than what you're doing, right? So right here at the top, I'm just going to invite all of you to kind of just pause. There's power in pause, right? Just take a breath, you know, if you're able to, maybe take your lunch break while you're watching me, or push the pause button on your to-do list, your work list, and just kind of be present, right? As I shared on yesterday's video, there's nothing wrong with routine, right? It's just sometimes we forget to be present. And what we know is that presence turns your routine into richness. And so right here, before we start, just kind of, you know, just be present on this live stream with me. Connect with me face to face, heart to heart. And just let there be power in the breath, right? It doesn't have to be meditation or spiritual or whatever. There's just power in pausing and breathing and connecting. We're so used to multitasking and going 100 miles an hour, doing 12 things at one time. And so right here, just kind of, if you can, just kind of come to the moment here. Just come. Just kind of like drinking some water. Just clean the palate of your mind, clean the palate of your system, metaphorically speaking, right? Just all right. So for today's live stream, for today's conversation, you've obviously over the last 3 weeks or so, I've been seeing this releasing these videos. That's something I've been staying inside of for a while to be of service, to the community. Because one thing that I've noticed over the years of my own life, of my own personal transformation, overcoming, whatever you want to call that, and in the lives of people that I support. Change Your Feelings, Change Your Life has the power to transform every area of your life, and that's something that people don't really think about. People just dismiss it, right? And there's more that we'll get into later in the live stream of why people, kind of dismiss what emotions really are and what the power of them really is. Because most people, when they think about changing their lives, they go right to the thing. They go right to the situation. They go right to the relationship, right? If I make more money, if I would lose weight, if my relationship improves, if I could get a better job, more money, right? Because most people are driven, right, by pain. It's very rare to meet people that are truly pulled by passion. And not necessarily just because people don't know what they're to do on the planet, what their purpose is, or why they're here. We like to think that's what it's about. And we get stuck in that conversation of, if I can find my purpose, let's take it back to the bare bones basics, right? When it comes to being a life coach, teacher in people's lives, I like to keep it powerful and simple. The simple solution. And it's really not about those questions initially. It's more about checking in with yourself around what's going on in my system emotionally. What is the sound that my nervous system is ringing out, right, when it comes to these areas? Because what we forget is that these things in our life, love, money, health, relationships, what we forget is that those are just extensions. They're just symptoms of who we are, right? And sometimes that's hard to swallow. Sometimes people don't want to hear that. Sometimes people don't want to know that they are really responsible for how their world is showing up, right? Um, it's easier when we can play the blame game and say, "Oh, it's this, it's the weather's fault. It's my wife's fault, my husband's fault, my boss, my job," or that's just how it is when you're, Irish or whatever. Right? There's all sorts of ways that we tend to not really um, allow ourselves the gift, right, of being connected to the truth of the matter, which is we are the center. We're the center of our operation. And that's not woo woo, that's physics, that's science, that's law of vibration, that's whatever you want to call it, right? Everything has its start in you. Money, time, love. Everything has its start in you and extends itself out into how it shows up. That's why it shows up differently for everybody, right? All German people can't say that love comes to me because I'm German. Or everybody kind of has that particular experience show up for them according to their own point of reference and to their own symptoms, right? So when it comes to this idea about changing your life, just to concentrate on the outside places, right? It's kind of like backwards thinking, even though we think it's common sense and that's just how it is. It's kind of backwards, right? Because the questions I would like to put out to you is, what if your feelings aren't simply the result of your life, right? What if your feelings aren't simply the result of what's going on, right? This happened, so I felt this way, right? What if your feelings are actually helping to shape those circumstances? Think about that. For some of you, maybe this is the first time you've ever heard this question. Maybe you've never even really considered it. Maybe a part of you have just kind of laughed and scoffed it off and said, whatever. you know. But what if truly, think about it. Even if you don't believe it, even if you think what I'm saying is bullcrap, I invite you just to consider it for a minute and say, okay, I'm willing to consider that my feelings are not just the result of something, but they're actually shaping, they're actually participating in what my life looks like, the life I'm creating. And so today we're going to explain a little bit more about why emotions matter so much and how they influence your choices, how they influence things, how they influence your expression, how they influence, what you do on a daily basis. I call them the symptoms, right? You've heard me say on some of the videos that your expressions are children of your emotions. Your expressions are children of how something lives inside of you. And so change is not external initially, right? External change ultimately must be the result of an internal change, right? So if any of this sounds familiar to you or you want more, you say yes, type yes in the comments, right? Because I want you to know that this live stream is also for your engagement, right? This is not just for me to sit here and talk. um, So part one here that I want to kind of break down is, first of all, why do feelings even matter? Why do we even bring this thought of importance to feelings or emotions, right? Because we've been taught about math and science. We've been taught about many things, but we weren't really taught like what emotions are. Why do we have them? How can we use them? Right? We've just been taught things, maybe emotions are just here to feel and express, let it move through you, keep it moving. um, but this idea called emotional awareness, this idea of being connected to your body versus your head, being connected to how things live inside of you, being connected to how something gets activated inside of you, whether it's happiness or pissed off or joy or sad, or instead of paying attention to that. We've been very much driven to be in our head, education, information. And as I've shared on other videos, it's not that I'm like anti, information or anti whatever. Um, but emotions don't live in the brain. I know that's going to be another little what? Emotions live in your body, right? When you experience happiness, where do you feel it? Here. You laugh. When you experience deep sadness, where do you experience it? Here. Cry from the gut. You right. And emotions very much are a resident, right, of the body. It's just the body is the last place we want to go. That's why we have soft addictions and TV and food and alcohol, whatever. And not that those things are bad, right? But many times we just don't want to. We don't want to go there, right? We don't want to feel it. We start crying. We say, no, 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 no. Living in our brain as an initial point of reference is the worst thing that we can do, right? Because your brain is also just a resource. It's a channel. So for this particular call, change your feelings, change your life. I want you to be willing to kind of challenge some of those things you were taught about emotions, like get over it. Right? How many times did you hear just get over it? Or suck it up and keep going, or feel the fear and do it anyway. Right? Things that really often what I call bypass the capacity you have to really A, pay attention to what's going on, and B, be introduced how to use it, right? Because emotions aren't bad. We've actually been giving them for purpose. The power of the emotions, right? So one thing that I want to talk about here is 100% of the time, right? Your emotions are always going to trump your information. You're like, I want to do that diet. I want to go back to school. I want to clean out that closet, right? We have all these goals, right? Just as well as I know, right? That information and goals and intentions, those are all fine and dandy, right? But until we get our emotional system on board with those things, we're not going to do it, or we'll start it and we don't finish it. We can't sustain it, right? Because we cannot outperform our own self image. Bottom line. And where does your self image live? Here. It doesn't live here. You can walk around all day long and say, I am awesome. I am awesome, right? Mantras and from I am awesome. I am awesome. But if here you're saying, I suck, I suck, I suck, what do you think's going to win out? This, right? Because this is like your power plant, your pyramid, your broadcast system. So the first step is kind of noticing that, right? No, not because you're a bad person. Remember, this is a science. This is not a personality. This doesn't mean you're a bad person just because you say, I suck, or love is hard, or there's not enough money, or because many of those things didn't come to us knowingly. Maybe we were raised to think that. Maybe you went through some trauma. Maybe, there's things, life be life in, from age 0 to age wherever you find yourself in this moment, right? And so things kind of get inside of us in a way emotionally. And so we just kind of carry those things with us. We don't challenge them. We don't question them. We wonder why. Right. And then we say things like, oh, it must be karma. It must be Mercury retrograde, or it must be not God's will, or, all those things. Right. When really it's none of those things. You have been given a power and a capacity. We weren't taught what it is. We weren't taught how to change it. And we definitely weren't taught how to use it. Right. And so basically, we walk through our life, we walk through our day with just these emotional filters, right? And so what does that do? That creates kind of like a cycle, right? It just creates more of the same. It just creates, and then you say, well, it is what it is, or we say these things, and I'm just sharing these examples with you because these are just real life conundrums that we don't even realize is a conundrum, right? We just kind of accept it for what it is. And then we think that taking more workshops or reading more books or doing this is going to be the answer to why I can't or why I need or helping me with, right? And again, information is secondary. It's not that it's not important. So in this Change Your Feelings, Change Your Life series that I've been doing, and in this upcoming 1 month workshop, right? the purpose of me doing this, and like I said, my life has changed because of my emotional mastery transformation and how I support other people over the last 28 years. The reason why it matters is because ultimately, it doesn't matter what you want. It doesn't matter what you don't want. You will not receive what you want, per se. You will receive who you are. You say, well, I don't even know who I am. You don't need to get into a deep conversation of who am I. What you need to do is as you move through your day, as you move through your week, pay attention. How life, how people, how things live inside of you, that'll tell you who you are, girl. That'll tell you who you are. You don't have to worry about that. Even if a part of you doesn't want to own it, right? Even if a part of you is like, damn, just notice it. Don't judge it. It's just like, oh, okay. It's like an observation. All right. So first step, notice it. Give yourself the gift of being in your body, right? Give yourself the gift of just noticing it. Don't make it about, don't make it personal, don't make it good, bad, right, wrong. You know, that's kind of where we start chasing our ass in a circle. We kind of start circling the landing strip instead of, getting into our body and just noticing it. All right, I'm pissed off about this, or I'm noticing that over the last 2 months or over the last 30 years. I'm noticing that money lives inside of me in this way. I'm always scared of money. I'm always afraid there's not enough. Or I've noticed that love lives inside of me where I'll never be married. I'll always be single and lonely. Or just notice how things live inside of you, right? Because that's a programming. That's a emotions live inside of you in a way that's not based on fact. Emotions and things live inside of you in a way, the way they've been taught to live inside of you, programmed, whether you are aware of that or whether you are not aware of that. So number one, check in with yourself, right? And then number two, it's important to at least try to give it a name, right? And if you can't give it a name, at least, acknowledge it, right? Because remember, emotions don't really have names. Those are just man-made. This emotion called anger, it doesn't know itself as anger. That's just we call it that, right? It's an English word that we call it anger. Whoops, talking with my hands. It's an English word we call anger, right? But the emotion itself doesn't know itself as anger. So, don't, if you can't give it a name, right? It's important to at least just pause, notice it, call it whatever you want. Call it icky, call it gross, call it, call it whatever the hell you want, right? Um, but you can't do anything with it if you don't first notice it. And then number two, if you don't acknowledge it. And I want to say this one more time. The acknowledgement is not about judgment. It doesn't mean you're fucked up. It doesn't mean you're amazing or you're not amazing. Uh, One thing that we do in this human experience is we like to make everything personal, and it's not. It's really not. It's not. Gravity is not personal. Everybody gets gravity. Oxygen is not personal. You can be tall, short, skinny, fat, right? So it's the same thing with this emotion thing that we've all been given. Everybody gets emotions. Everybody gets feelings. Everybody has life living inside of them in a certain way. It's just we make it personal and we forget that it's actually just ours. And we think, well, everybody has this experience with love. Do they? Well, this is just how it is to be human. Is it? Well, doesn't everybody experience money this way? Do they? What if the way I'm experiencing this belongs to me? And what if I notice it in my body and I've noticed it's been there for a while? And I also acknowledge I don't necessarily enjoy it and I don't like it. So today, instead of shutting down because it means I'm weak, or shutting down because it means something wrong with me, and going to the TV or the snack or the vodka or the cigarette or the gossip, instead of going to those things, what if I allowed myself to take a breath? What if I allowed myself to just notice what's going on without judgment? And then what if I allowed myself just to call it something? Call it anger, call it sadness, call it gross, call it icky. What if I allowed myself just to do that, right? And then for my final point, right, within this particular live stream, there's many things I could talk about, which is why I want you to be a part of our 4-week, 1-month course. right? But the last thing I want you to do is once you pause, once you connect, once you feel it, once you call it, what in the hell do you do with it, right? What do you do with it, right? Because it's not necessarily fun just to sit there. You're not like the Peanuts character walking around with a cloud and rain around you all the time, right? So what do you do with it, right? And the thing is, you have to do something with it. You can't ignore it. You can't act like it's not there because guess what? It's going to come back around next week, next month. You don't get rid of it. You have to transform it. So how do you transform it? So I'm just going to give you this very simple formula. It'll be harder to use than it is to understand, right? Because you're intelligent, you're smart, you get it, right? But when you're by yourself, obviously you can't do this at work or in the grocery store, but when you're at home, you're by yourself, whatever, right? Give yourself the gift of close the door, lock the door, you're by yourself. Give yourself the gift of doing three things. First of all, the first step is to get in your body, feel it, acknowledge it, and just spend time expressing it, 5 minutes, whatever. Have a cry fest and really cry and scream and yell. Give yourself an anger fest, whatever. Just give it to you. Play full out and whatever that is with your money. Money, or love life. Love. Speak it out, cry it out, hit it out, whatever, right? And do that. I say 5 minutes, but 10 minutes, whatever. And do that until you feel fully expressed. Maybe that will be like peace and calm. Or, okay, I feel better because I expressed that. Don't let that be the last step. That's where a lot of people make mistakes. You got to take the last step, which is then do a dance party. You have to replace it. There's got to be alchemy, right? If you don't alchemize, it's just going to keep coming back. It's important to express, but that's not the full formula for transformation. Turn on something, Cool in the Gang celebration, whatever dance party fun song you want. Turn it on and get in your body. And literally, this will be harder to do than you think. Literally make yourself laugh out loud and dance and verbalize how you want that. Love is amazing. And laugh and dance. Money is, it sounds cheesy. Your brain is going to judge you. It's going to say, this is the most ridiculous thing you've ever done. You're lying to yourself. You're making this up. This is dumb. This is not helping. Right. But I promise you, if you'll just commit to doing that whenever you can, over time, it'll change your life. And that's difficult because people don't want a permanent solution. They want a quick solution. They don't really want to change. They want someone outside of them just to, well, just fucking give me the money already, or just people would rather have a quick fix than a permanent fix. And I'm not here to answer your questions. I'm here to change your life. So if that's for you, if you really are to transform so that from that moment on, every day, week, month, and year of your life can be literally multiplied abundantly. And I invite you, really consider to be a part of our 1 month, 4 week course coming up. Type yes, type more down below, or send me a private message so we can connect, get the information out to you, let you know what it looks like. I'm only reserving this for 10 people, but we're going to be taking each week and unpacking 2 or 3 different life-changing things. And yes, there will be some stuff that I invite you to do at home during the week, homework, whatever dirty word you want to use. Because there has to be experience. There has to be application. This is not information. This is transformation, right? And so take a breath here before we hop off. For all of you that joined live, thank you. I see you. I see you. I see you as you come on. Thank you for your comments. And I hope to see all of you on our upcoming 4 week course. Change your feelings, change your life, right? And it's 4 weeks because your life is not going to change overnight. I don't know what to say. This is not an ibuprofen. There's not a quick fix, But over time, small, intelligent, scientific choices will change your life, right? I often say baby steps are hard for the baby, but they're essential. And if you'll start doing those small steps intentionally, scientifically, it's not about pushing yourself or, you know, driving yourself or forcing yourself to do it. It's about intelligence, right? And science. So if this message has encouraged you, if you've gotten something out of it, please feel free to share in the comments. If you have questions, please feel free to share in the comments. I'll come back around and do some Q&A later. And I would love to hop on the phone with you, because sometimes one conversation, can just make all the difference in the world, right? But for now, I encourage you. I'm here. I'm team you. I got your back, right? And truly, I'm a living testimony about how magnificent things can really start to open your life when you change your feelings, change your life. Thanks again, everybody.